we did what, like Socrates said. It's like if it's equal, she's your superior.
Yeah.
So we have ended up with a concept of marriage that is so unequal, it's a joke. That is so that there is no way to be alpha, and it's destructive to the marriage itself,
to the nuclear family, to society,
and
the fabric of society.
As a result, to everything that follows. What could undermine those advantages that the lawyers have created and that the courts have created?
So first off, you've got to get away from the courts altogether because you cannot deal with them at all.
Well, I mean, again, yeah.
Therefore,
but they'll insert themselves into any relationship.
Okay, so while that's true, while that's ultimately true, no matter how tight we came up with a private marriage contract, a woman could still, if she was willing to risk her life, if you're married to me and you do this, you're risking your life, go to a judge and the judge will say, I'm tossing that out, we're implying, because we have jurisdiction, with no factual evidence of such.
So, and a marriage contract draws them in a way that nothing else does.
So the proposal, the thought experiment is, instead, this is for MGTOW who must have children. They're 20, for whatever reason, their upbringing or their wiring, nature or nurture, they want kids. Mm-hmm. And because we don't have artificial wombs, you've got to enter a woman into this equation. Now, paying for a surrogate to give them a child without a woman involved is not an option because A, they're not wealthy, B, they don't have the time and or inclination to take care of a screaming infant when they don't have a pair of milk-producing titties, which is the main reason why women take better care of infants over the long term than men, because they have the boobs. It's not men's fault that they don't have boobs. Boobs are everything to an infant. Everything. All right, so anyway. So if you must have a kid, now you get involved a woman. Okay, great. So eventually you're going to, want to have sex with her and have her have the kids and both be invested and hopefully this will last forever, yada, yada, yada. Okay, but we don't want to involve the government for obvious reasons I'm not going to go into. That's all over the internet anyway, already. So instead of just complaining about it, what's the solution? Okay, we're going to discuss what a fair marriage contract would actually look like. Okay. Based off of what's fair, not some people will be like, oh, it was misogynist. Not some kind of unequal thing, just based on nature and the roles as they are by nature and fairness for both people as human beings. Okay. So, I mean, we could start anywhere, but let's just start with, let's start with the basics. So, okay, we're going to agree to get married. We're going to agree to, if not be purely monogamous, any and all other outstanding sexual partners will be known to the other. Some marriages can roll like that, especially if we're talking about bringing in the occasional woman, because that's way more natural to them than the occasional guy, for obvious reasons. So that's set up right there. We're going to have kids. We're making all kinds of contractual agreements to remain together for the duration of said children's childhood, up to and including 18 years, whatever.
You're mapping out where you live and what it takes to move.
We're mapping out what kind
for the next 20 years. Yes. And ideally with another party as an interest, so that a court can't just come and say, well, this marriage, we're considering all those things moot. But I'm sorry, that's
give an example of a third party what you're talking about.
Okay, so if you make a contract with somebody and you and a prospective wife were to agree, we are going to live in this area for the next 20 years. Right. And a divorce court gets involved.
Well, where does the third party come in is the question.
Hold on. I'm getting there.
Okay.
And a divorce court comes involved. They can say, well, you both are completely under my control, and I can take any contract between you in your whole life and shit on it.
Okay.
Okay. That is a principle of a divorce court. I mean, they have, now they cannot shit on a contract that involves a third party.
Okay. So who would be ideal for a third party?
Someone's trusted. All it takes is any interest whatsoever by them.
Okay, but when you say someone's trusted, my question is, trusted no matter what happens, even decades from now?
And the funny thing is, they don't even have to be known to each other and stuff. So you could say, okay, so these two people are relying on the idea that we're going to live in this area for their own businesses and for their own purposes. And as a result, if we break our agreement to stay here, we're liable to them for $500,000.
And them is the third party?
Whoever it be, doesn't matter. It could be your uncle. It could be...
Well, it's got to be someone who doesn't have a bias toward either party.
Because they'll release them from their contract. They could, that third party could say, I release you from your obligations and fuck you over.
How could a third party release one of the other party members of their obligations without their consent?
So if you're the only one who isn't on board with this release and a divorce court is involved... Oh, sorry, I'm knocking on that.
I was like, was that the door?
Hey, you're the only one who objects, right? The whole reason for that third party is so that a judge can't say, well, everybody involved in this is under my thumb, so fuck you, I'm rewriting it.
Okay.
The whole point is to bring in another interest so that a judge can't fuck with them.
I got you.
Now, if they gave, the woman a little sheet of paper saying, I hereby release her and him or whoever
of their... they? The judge or the third party?
I'm sorry, if the third party, turns out to be someone you couldn't trust. They write down on a piece of paper saying, I don't want this contract anymore. You can dissolve it at will. That judge now suddenly has the ability to do what he wanted to do.
Oh, so if they voluntarily do. Okay, but the question is, so you said a third party can get an original, one of the other party members out of it without their consent.
No. He can say, I release you from any obligation to me. The obligation is actually to the third party to stay in the area as well. Because obligations to you,
the locale.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know how feasible this idea is, because to find someone who will physically stay in the locale and is not biased to either party member, meaning not related,
right?
A trusted friend.
It can be multiple.
Pick sides.
No, it can be multiple. You pick one, she picks one, and both of them are involved, and that way, the guy you trust isn't going to release her. He'll release you, and the guy she trusts will release her, but not. Her.
So there'll still be three people in it?
There'll still be a binding reason.
To me, that makes a lot more sense.
Fair enough. Four. It's, I'm just saying, I don't care about her being protected. I care about me being protected.
Now, this is, of course, if the judge doesn't go completely psycho and say, this is so outside the norm of what we think of as marriage that I'm scrapping the whole thing for reasons X, Y, and Z.
It isn't a marriage anymore. It is a marriage encumbered by other contracts, is my point.
But... Will all judges respect that, is my point.
They don't have much choice, because you could again, not much of a fan of the Constitution, but there is a principle where a judge cannot change a contract just because he feels like it. The only exception to that just about is family court with divorce.
Judges, through prenups. They toss prenups left and right.
Because that's only the two people involved.
Okay.
Try dragging another party into their prenup and get it changed.
You do hear what I'm saying when I say, let's hypothetically say this happened in real life with four people.
Right.
That's 0.00001% of the population, and the divorce cases that come through the system. It's got to be that rare.
Right.
So under that rareness, and because these people don't have public and therefore political pressure, couldn't a judge just go like, yeah, fuck you and fuck that? Because they're only limited by what will ruin the image of the judiciary.
I get you. Because he can't acquire jurisdiction over that element. He has jurisdiction over anything he can possibly put his finger on, but to argue that he can reach out into a third person's contract because he has a divorced couple in front of him.
So this makes me want to form some type of glue between the people who are just along for the ride and the actual husband and wife. I don't know what that glue would be, but I can just see a judge going, look, this is about a husband and a wife. You two are only doing this to avoid the jurisdiction of the court. Therefore, I'm going to rule it unconstitutional and illegal and moot and goodbye. Therefore, I'd want some glue, like some kind of financial somehow.
So like, let's say you formed a corporation for the advancement of healthy raising of children.
Or a religion.
Or a religion. Oh, my God, that draws in all kinds of interesting elements. But now you have a group of people who have, quote-unquote, money or interest in your performance. Right. And it's like, well, you're breaking a contract about you promised to be to this level of parenting, and you're breaking that. which, by the way, we wrote a contract to deal with.
And can in the contract we write the associated penalties and punishments.
If you haven't written associated penalties and punishments, the judge gets to figure that out for himself.
And we have plenty of ideas we've talked about before.
Well, some of my ideas for punishment can't be put into a contract that would end up in court.
Probably mine too. But they'd still go in, even if they got ruled out. They'd still go. I mean, okay. So now this takes us. Okay. I want to make one point before we begin in the actual contract. If a married man were to hear us talking in this video, he would be like, I'm calling bullshit on so much, right? Okay. One of the things he would call bullshit on is our doubt of marriage as an institution and the idea that people don't actually fall in love. It's all just a drug of addiction and neurotransmitters.
All right, get ready. If you've been married, raise your hand. Go ahead and...
Oh, you want me to raise my hand on this thing? I've been married. Okay, so they wouldn't like that. Okay, so my response to such a husband who would say that idea is stupid. I'm just going to go with the traditional wedding and courthouse and roll the dice because, hey, life's not fair and I want to accept responsibility and have a meaningful life and have kids with a wife. I'm just going to do my own thing. Fuck you. I would say, cool. Here's a little bit of factual evidence that your wife doesn't love you. You think your wife?
Wow.
You think your wife loves you, right? Yes, my wife loves me. Who the fuck are you to tell me that my own wife doesn't love me? You don't even know my wife. You don't even know her name.
Okay.
Fair enough. Here it is. What we can all agree on, Mr. Husband who disagrees with me, what we can agree on are the actual reality facts of what husbands go through and what wives go through in divorce in the current system and going back decades, correct? We know about alimony. We know about child support. We know about shitty visitation schedules, right? What is this thing? Is this camera thing always up? Unless I'm looking right at it instead of looking at you. So he has to agree with the facts, the statistics that men get fucked. And so that women don't just have an advantage, they have an extreme advantage. Okay. Now, if the positions were reversed and the courts were treated husbands like they treat wives today, so you flip the positions, how would you feel? Would you feel anything differently? Would you think this is fair? If you could totally fuck her over like that, she'd have to work all these jobs and move back in with her parents or live in a studio, pay you X amount of child support, take half your shit, your house, half your retirement, half the cars, take the pets, take the kids. Like, what would she say if that were reality? She would be bitching about it to no end. Agreed? I'm still on making common, we both agree here. So we would agree on the facts of the matter with the consequences from divorce and family courts, and we would agree that if the roles reversed, the women would be throwing a fucking fit. Okay. With that in mind, all you have to do is, require a little bit of logical and ethical consistency from your wife. Is your wife enough of an adult to handle logical and ethical consistency?
But how would you test that?
Here's how.
Okay.
Here's how. So you have a conversation with her where there's no other distractions around. And you basically say, look, we both know that, I'm not saying, our marriage is great. It's really strong. We're nowhere near divorce, right? Things are going great. Right, great, cool. But our kids aren't going to be grown for another 10 years, the smallest one, let's say. And as we all know, you could be the perfect wife, and I could be the perfect husband. But sometimes in life, things happen outside of our control. Like, one of us, something horrible happens, and we develop an opioid addiction and become a horrible person and start to steal. One of us could have a nasty concussion in a car accident and become a different person. Now, I know these are totally unlikely. Mm-hmm. I'm not suggesting they're, common. I'm saying we can't control the future. One of us might become a different person, and a divorce it's a possibility. Yeah. Even though it's totally unforeseen right now, and things are great. Cool. We both know that men get the shaft in divorce and marriage. Okay? Now, I'm not saying I shouldn't. You've supported me during the prime years of your life, and I've got this cool career going. And if I go fuck some other woman and get a divorce, I would feel it logical and ethical for me to pay you something to maintain some standard of living to keep you out of poverty.
Okay.
Until the kids grow up. Like, I'd be down with that. But what I'm not down with is I've got a net worth of 7 figures, you getting half that. I'm not down with that.
So you know that the next line is, what do you mean you have that? Because it's our money is going to be the position.
Of course they're going to say, anytime they do that, you can just, well, with a woman, they don't do logic. Okay, let me up it. I have a net worth of 8 figures.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a net worth.
Now look, here's what. Have you done anything, or do you feel you're capable of doing something that could accumulate a net worth of 8 figures in 10 to 15 years? Because I can buy...
Made you able to make those monies.
A man's career will be even further advanced, and he'll have more time for that career if he doesn't have a wife and kids. Okay. I'm just saying. But if she reaches to that, no problem. I can easily calculate what it costs for a cook, a maid, and a nanny. And all those 3 combined fall far short of an 8-figure net worth over 10 to 15 years.
I have here a article from Cosmo that says that those 3 things cost millions a year.
Jesus Christ! On what planet?
I've seen it.
Okay, we're not.
I've seen it.
Look,
I'm not.
If your wife reaches to Cosmo, you don't have a wife who values logical and ethical consistency,
True.
and therefore you're married to a child, and that is valuable knowledge to have.
Okay, and I'm not seeing that any woman would. They might not try to even resist it. They're just. I just don't see that. I just don't understand what you're saying. I'm just not seeing what you're trying to get at.
Of course.
I don't agree with what you're saying.
Of course you're not going to. Because women, evolutionarily speaking, very easy to go up in status, very difficult to go down in status.
Okay.
They take that way harder than men do.
Okay.
They will not go down in lifestyle, status, the looks of a guy. It's really hard. That's why getting old becomes so psychologically difficult for so many of them.
Okay.
So that's why that's happening. I mean, if you've got this expectation, like an entitlement in your head, that you have earned $5 million in cash by being a mother like all other mothers are. You're a great mom. You're a great mom to my 3 kids. That's
the most
3
difficult job on the planet.
I know you're being funny, but no. Okay, that's just not reality. Now, let's just skip all this and get to the important part, because I don't, all that could be said and would be said.
Okay. Yeah.
But if I was a guy at this point, I'd be like, look, I'm not. You're saying I can't expect logical consistency from you, or anything other than hypocrisy. Because if the roles were reversed, you wouldn't be cool with this. But say, let's move to the actual point of it. Is it picking me up? There it is.
There it goes.
Okay, so what I want to do is have everything we're doing stay exactly the same. Nothing changes between us or this family or the finances. I simply want to alter. I want to get the government out of our romantic relationship. So, what I propose, and this is why your wife doesn't love you, is we legally divorce and privately marry. And what that means is we'll both come up with a divorce settlement with no lawyers or judges involved.
Okay.
And we will file that. And that will become legal. We will legally become divorced. But of course, before we do that, we will write up and both agree to and have a second marriage, maybe, like a lot of people renew their vows, where we accept this new private contract that can be very much like the real marriage and even better without daddy government involved. Because as you and I both know, daddy government screws the man. If you love me, you would want this to be fair between us. If you don't love me, you are more than happy to live with the extreme advantage that we both know you have should this ever end in divorce.
Yep.
If she won't do that, whatever reason she comes up with, she puts herself way ahead of you.
Yep.
And that is not love.
But the children need to be here in this.
Okay, fine. We'll bring them in. I hope they marry like
but
this
the
too.
children need the state. And what if
The children don't need the state? That's ridiculous.
what if you're in the hospital and I'm not the next of kin and can't come in to see you because blah blah blah?
We'll go to the hospital and draw up documents for that as well, and I'll give you prior consent to do that.
Right. Medical decision making is totally easy to do.
Draw up a will and shit like that.
Those are some of the arguments made for same-sex marriage stuff. Because there are some bases couldn't be covered apparently.
Now, if your wife will give up the power that she has through the state and draw up a fair private marriage contract with you and goes through with this, I will admit I was wrong and she does love you. But they won't do it. The reason why is because a woman's love is opportunistic. It is conditional upon what you provide for her. If the money goes away, it's only a matter of time. There's a fuse burning. I don't know how long that fuse is, but there is a fuse.
Right.
And you will be left without a job, especially if I've been providing a nice lifestyle for you with a 6-figure paycheck and that upper middle class home, and that all goes away, but it could all come back if you just met the right guy. You're going to leave. A woman's love can never be what a man, the way he loves. They don't. Our love is selfless. We want to provide and protect. That means take care of others, not ourselves. We will self-sacrifice our brains out, actually.
Yeah.
They are not driven this way at all. They are driven to accumulate resources and have babies.
They will sacrifice for their children sometimes.
Some, not all women.
Not all women.
And I say
I'm not saying
most women put themselves over their babies like a lioness will put herself over her cubs when a new pride leader comes in.
Okay.
It's that same reptilian, deep-seated primate monkey shit.
Okay.
So, I mean, any husband who would hear this video and disagree with me and come up, that's my, I can prove your wife doesn't love you.
Yeah.
Until she, oh yes, honey, I'll do that. I'll totally do that. I'm not going to believe it until that document is signed. Just because she agrees to it, actions don't mean, words don't mean shit. It's the action. So, and I would just
so even
put
if
that to every husband in the planet.
Just the fact that it was fileable and would damage her, you won't even put words to it, not let alone filing it. So
now, of course, the husband's going to say, "Well, it depends on what this private marriage contract looks like. So what it looks like, so we can get into that now."
Okay.
Like we started to.
Okay.
So like infidelity, you cheat, you lose everything. You lose everything. You still have your job if you have one, but shared assets all go to the other person. Full custody all goes to the other person of all kids. 100% medical decision making, 100% religious decision making, 100% educational decision making. I will still grant you generous visitation because I love my children and I want them to continue to have you in their life as much as possible. That doesn't go away. But if you cheat, and it's proven with factual evidence, not anything short of that, not accusations, not fifis, not somebody wrote a tweet I didn't like, or somebody knows where a mole on your dick is when they shouldn't know that. That's not factual evidence. You got to have like audio or video or like private detective type level shit.
Okay.
Because
we are talking about a nuclear option.
We are.
We
are. That's the standard. Then you lose everything. So it would make the husband and wife obviously very, 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 very motivated not to cheat. Now, it would also include a clause. Because you can't, I don't want to put somebody in a prison like that. Like, people deserve to be sexually satisfied, and quite often that does not happen. They want to find it elsewhere. So there's going to be a clause that says, look, if just one party, obviously both, but if just one party says, I want to involve other people sexually in my life, if both parties are okay with that, everything continues hunky-dory as before.
So it's about notice.
Yes.
About notice and acceptance.
Yes. Now, if the other person is not okay with it, then we do this thing where all romantic connection ends, and we each pursue our
shift
own
into the
sex
non-romantic version of the same
But we're forced
agreement.
to stay in the house. We're forced to be parents to our kids.
So the agreement morphs rather than another divorce kind of thing.
It's impossible to get divorced until the kids are
the
grown.
relationship changes and changes and changes.
But this private contract, they both agree, I cannot make it go away.
Right. It just changes
morph.
into this other agreement.
Until the last child is 18. At that point, you can consider yourself divorced by agreement through this contract. But if you go out and fuck other dudes, if you want to be honest with them, you got to say, hey, look, I'm in a non-romantic partnership with the father of my children. I'm free to pursue my own shit, but I'm privately contractually obligated, and I take it seriously, to this family unit.
Right.
I gotta fix this so that doesn't happen, because I'm looking at you and it just loses it.
Right.
So that covers the biggest elephant in the room, which is sexual infidelity. You could obviously draw up something that's comfortable with finances. Depending on how much he makes, what she contributes.
Yep.
Expectations of both, what to do in cases of terminal illness.
Standard of living expectations.
Standard of living.
Yep.
Medical decisions.
Medical
decisions, religious, educational. Yep. All this can be worked out. That's all kind of the easy stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's the romantic partner stuff that people have a problem getting over. That's kind of what a quote-unquote marriage is. Yeah,
it's half of it is about dealing with feelings.
Right. They could even do wacky stuff like, I think more and more this is going to be the case, but like one man and more than one woman. I don't know. Like that might be a temporary thing, a little clause you could work into it, where this is kind of what that would look like. And what it would do, it would hardline establish, because this is what your wife is really concerned about when she considers having a three-way, that you will like the other woman more, and now your resources will go to the other woman.
Yeah.
When, hey, I've got kids here and a pussy that's invested in this family, and no other guy will want me if I'm a single mom divorcee.
Huh.
So it could guarantee her supremacy financially. And secure her position so that some other side bitch that came in couldn't do anything. Or else the guy would lose everything, right? So he's not going to be motivated by that. It could do with, hey, if one of us wins a lottery, hey, if, family members die, or whatever. But, what else can you think of a fair marriage contract would include? Everything else is pretty kind of easy, can work out. Assets, houses, cars.
Right. They can be. Except, of course, the fact that your appraisal of her input and her appraisal of her input are going to be widely different.
The power of the input?
Let's say, okay. So let's say, let's say you have a job where you're making, let's say 5 times what she makes.
Okay.
Even if they're both full-time, and heck, if she's part-time, it's 10 times that. It's, sometimes in that range. But in her mind, the idea that her money is inconsequential in the marriage isn't going to go over. She's going to think, well, maybe mine's a little less. She's going to think that she's 90% of you, even though she's 10.
Yeah, that's their natural inclination, confirmation bias in the wrong way.
I get it. It's going to be a huge argument to have,
Well, it's because she's been poisoned by the government.
Here's the thing, though. She can use that argument to say, well, I do love you. It's just this is unreasonable. I don't love you enough to be unreasonable.
Okay, I'm looking for equal. And you're calling equal unreasonable.
Oh, yes, exactly.
Okay,
I'm calling equal unreasonable.
If you're going to call equal unreasonable.
But it's because I'm using a different standard of equal than you. I'm using your
feelings
internal
version.
Yes.
And I'm using a factual version.
Again, it's, you sing along. We all know the words. Right. Your feelings versus my facts.
Okay, so if two people are already married, and she wouldn't go through with it because of this, she doesn't love you. And that's valuable information. That's
your judgment, but she's feeling otherwise, and I can easily be convinced otherwise. Because I could make this contract something that no one would accept, and still have it
Why would you
under
make
the
it
guise
so no one
of
can
reasonable. I could still call it reasonable, and I could argue that it was reasonable even if it's not, is my point. I can write a contract that is, I can argue the hell out of it being reasonable.
I know. But
because there's judgment factors.
The only standard I'm holding, whether it's the word reasonable or any other word, is logic and the ethics of fairness.
See, but in a contract, there is always that negotiability. There's the spread.
Okay, this is what I'm referring to. Does not allow that variable to happen because both people define their terms of logical and ethical, and that's the standard and value that everything goes to, regardless of feelings or facts.
Sure, and contract negotiations, one of the things.
So I'm just saying, it would have to be written up like that to make that variable.
But who
have
writes
no power?
It? You have to negotiate your way through it, and one of you has to be exchanging. You have to be giving and forgetting. You have to give something up to get something else.
I'm not. Let's see. How do I put this?
I don't agree that there is a magic equal contract that satisfies the condition of being equal in everybody's eyes. It's my judgment of equal and yours are vastly different.
Okay, that's
hers and his are going to be a million miles apart.
Okay, be that as it may. Okay, so there's two situations I'm applying what you're saying to.
Uh-huh.
One, that they're already married and they're shifting from a government marriage to a private marriage.
Right.
And if she won't do it, then what has been gained that is still so valuable is he now knows that she very much will and wants to maintain her superior firepower over him.
The negotiating itself.
That's valuable to know.
Great stuff.
But
yeah.
the second situation I'm talking about is two people who are considering getting married and have not yet gotten married.
If you do that negotiation, you will know a lot more about that bitch.
Exactly. This is my point. This is valuable information to gain. And not just what not just what she says she'll do, what she actually signs.
What she signs
to.
What she signs.
Because as we all know, marriage rates are plummeting. Bridal businesses are going out of business. Okay, the birth rate is falling like a rock. Women very much want to get married, and so many of them are not. And then they hit the wall at 30, and it's too late for them, and then they've got to settle, and they don't want to settle because they've got this entitlement ideas in their head. Yep. And it's just everybody's fucked, and then, guys are leaving because they get frustrated, and they get screwed, their lives get screwed up, and then they, single moms raising kids that are dysfunctional. Dominoes just start falling like left and right. So the two people who have not yet gotten married, if you talk about what a fair marriage private contract would look like, you're going to find out a lot about her.
Yeah.
And when enough men are doing it, and women are obviously desperate to get married because they're desperate to have kids, and I'm talking about 96% of them, not all, they will bow down into their place, which is we will be treated equally according to logic and ethics when it comes to finances and marriage.
All right.
Or you will not be married at all.
Right.
And good luck, you're going to pop a few kids with Chad and Tyrone who will never show up or never make much to give you child support. You're going to be working your whole life. We all know you don't want to work. By the way, a guy who's making at least 6 figures doesn't want his wife to work. Like when my wife stopped working at 6 months pregnant as a dental assistant, she never worked again.
Okay.
Because I was like, I don't want you to work. I want you to be home with the kid. I don't want someone else watching our kid. And I think that's almost... Now, some women are like, well, I like to have all the kids are at least in school now, and I've got 6 hours of lonely time, so I need to get my own interest and career going. I want to sell widgets on Etsy or whatever, right? Fine. But she's not going to pretend that she gets half of my $120,000 a year income.
Right.
You don't, sweetie. You don't do... People get paid in accordance to how rare their skill is. Professional athletes, singers, performers, comedians, politicians. The more rare your skill set is, the more you get paid, generally speaking. All due respect to motherhood, it can't be replaced like the mother-daughter or child bond. But as far as the work that's involved,
right,
being a nanny, being a maid, being the
homemaking,
right, a cook, is all relatively low wages because so many people can do it. Now, if you don't like that, and you still want to enjoy the standard of living that I provide you, then you provide it on your own, go out into the world, get a $120,000 paycheck, and I will stay home and watch these kids.
I did that to the ex.
Then I won't work, no problem.
I did that to the ex. I said, we have a choice here.
Yeah.
On when the baby was, when it was time, when she could have gone to work just as easily.
Yeah.
You pick which one you want.
Yeah.
You want me to do Mr. Mom? No, I wasn't. I knew I wasn't going to be Mr. Mom.
Yeah.
But she needed to say it.
Yeah.
She needed to say that she preferred homemaking to career making.
And they will.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to. It's a rare woman who wants to work and put up with a boss and all this. They don't handle stress and anxiety as pressure. They don't handle any of that. They take it harder than men do, just mentally. They take it harder. They don't have the coping skills to go along with that. They don't have the natural leadership. They don't have an alpha mindset that wants to compete among men. They quite often, physically, they can't. Like a truck driver who's a man and a woman, if you've got to haul your own tarps or cart your own cargo out and you get paid by the mile, a man is going to make more than a woman because he's stronger. There's just shit like that.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, if enough guys were doing this, women would take it. They would be, hey, I will give up getting half your shit if we get divorced. I will agree to lose everything if I cheat on you. I will totally do all that knowing that you're making these agreements. You're going to provide for me. You're going to be faithful to me. And if we get divorced, the kids aren't going to be ruined by our selfish needs to go fuck other people.
Right.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
That's what it would be.